Okay, Tim Lawel, first question. Which of the following AWS global infrastructure component is made up of one or more discrete data centers, each with redundant power, networking, and connectivity, and housed in separate facilities? So global infrastructure component made up of one or more discrete data centers. Redundant. Sorry?
Availability zone.
Okay. What about the others? Any thought? So we always start with
support.
Okay, yeah, we always start with let's always allow the first person to answer, then we give our support. Then after, let's see. Yeah, so that's A. The definition. This was just the definition of availability zone. Yeah. All right. So then it's still Tim Lawel. So I know there are 4 of you. So what services provides the lowest cost storage option for retaining database backups, which also allows occasional data retrieval in minutes? Still Tim Lawel. Who is the next person? Okay. What about the others? So retaining database backups that allows data retrieval in minutes. I see support as well on chat. So let's go for A. Let's always remember the key part. I keep highlighting that. I hope everyone is keeping that in mind. Database retrieval, retaining backups, database backup, which allows occasional data retrieval in minutes. You will not use, what is EBS used for?
It's used for volumes.
Yeah, volumes. But okay, where are volumes normally used? So to say, you are correct as volumes, but where will you find volumes? So, for example, any person else? Or what's the full meaning of EBS? Maybe that's the best place to start.
Elastic block storage.
Okay, elastic block storage. And yeah, so there are 2 types of elastic block storage. Who remember them? In general, when you talk of block storage, you have SSD and HDD, right? And in SSD, there are 2 types. You have general purpose and then provision IOPS. And then with HDD, you have 2, Core HDD and Core HDD and what's the other one? Core HDD. And there are 2. So you have EBS is made of 2, SSD and HDD. So SSD is solid state storage, HDD is the normal storage that we have, and all of them are then made up again of 2. HDD you have cool storage, cool HDD. The other one is throughput, throughput HDD. And yeah, EBS general purpose can be used example for that's where you have it on your EC2 instance. your normal operating system is stored always there, uses general purpose SSD. So it's important to know those different type of storage. And EFS, remember, is centralized for Linux, for storing Linux. If you want instances to access the same storage, you use EFS, centralized storage. Okay, so it's good to know the different why the others are wrong. S3 is yeah, this can be. This one is more specific, of course, it's S3 as well. It's just that it's specific. All right, so let me see what was written here. Yeah, we have done this a couple of times. So, okay, next question for Tim. A company has a basic support plan, needs resources to deploy, test, and improve their AWS environment. Which of the following can they use for free? They have a basic support plan. The first thing is know that they have a basic support plan, but they need to deploy, test, and improve their environment. What can they use for free?
Yeah, the answer is B. AWS online documentation, white papers, blogs, and support forums.
Okay. I see the support for B. All right, let's check. Yeah, in-person classes with an accredited instructor. Remember, the basic support plan is just anyone can have that, which is not true. Where is technical account manager used? Where will you see a technical account manager in which support plan?
Enterprise.
Yes, enterprise. What about enterprise on RAM? Because we have two enterprise now.
Enterprise on RAM does not have a technical account manager. The account manager is not dedicated. It's like it has responses, but it's like from the general board, like they can attend to you.
It has a pool. Enterprise on RAM has but a pool of technical account managers. So many of them, but then enterprise have a designated technical account manager, right? Yeah, that's the action. So support API for programmatic case management. Where do you start having full support for this, for API case management? Sorry? Business, correct. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So you see technical account management for enterprise on RAM is a pool, but for enterprise you have a designated. And then a programmatic case, it starts with business, where you start having a full AWS support API. Programmatic case, what was that? Yeah, that's that in business. I don't know, in my talk, what was coming to my mind was also trusted advisor. Yeah. Right. So this table remains very important. Make sure you are comfortable with it. Know what concierge support is. I keep mentioning that concierge support here. It's not written here clearly, but it's in our notes what this team is about. Okay. So the last question for Team Lawi, which of the following is true regarding elastic load balancing? So which statement is true about elastic load balancing? It is a virtual server that allows you to run your applications in the AWS cloud. It distributes incoming application traffic across multiple targets, such as Amazon EC2 instances in multiple availability zones. It translates domain names into numeric IP addresses that Amazon EC2 instances use to connect to each other. It automatically increases or decreases the number of instances as the demand of your application changes. So what statement there is true?
It distributes incoming application traffic across multiple targets, such as Amazon EC2 instance in multiple availability zones.
Okay. Anyone has a different view or support? Okay, I see support. Two people. Okay, let's try that. All right, that's correct. That's just what elastic load balancer is. Who know what service we do see? It translates domain names into numeric IP addresses. Which service will do that?
Route 53.
Route 53, that's correct. Yeah. I did share a video in our main chat on Route 53. I encourage everyone to look into that. This one, it's a very basic, it's taken from a basic direction. You can take time and look at this. What other function does Route 53 do? What can you also do with Route 53? Most people always tend to remember that it translates domains names to numeric IP address, but then forget the other function, which at times come often. What can you also do with Route 53? Okay, so remember, you can also use it for domain registration. Domain is like wifundcloud.com, any other domain you have. So if you want to have a domain called lawit.com, you can use Route 53 and register that domain there, and then it becomes available. So it's also used for domain registration, right? So always remember that other second function of. Okay, thank you, Chino. Let's move to the next. I'm trying to see. That will be Maureen. Which of the following are regarded as regional services in AWS? Maureen, are you there? Okay.
C.
Okay, say A and C. Okay, I've seen your chat. Regional services, you say A and C. Oh, I see. What about the others? I see A and E. Okay. I see B and E. All right. So some variation. E is featuring there. I see A and E. So I've seen two A and E's. So I'll take the majority. And the others, please just see what, let's check and see if the majority wins. Right. So C is what kind of service? For those who answered.
C is a zonal service.
Yes. C is Zuna. Which other service is also Zuna?
EBS?
Yes, correct. EBS is correct. So those are the only two zonal services. And then Route 53 and security token, security token service here is STS. So those are global services. And then every other service is regional. So always remember that, where is that? I shared this a couple of times. Global services are IAM, STS, that's security token service, Route 53, CloudFront, and WAF. Zonal service are the other one. So remember also, most people forget WAF is a global service here. All right, thank you. Next question is for you, Bijonge. For security audit purposes, a company needs to download compliance-related documents in AWS, such as ISO certifications, payment card industry, and service organization control reports. Where can they retrieve these files? So you need to download compliance-related documents in AWS, right? And examples are ISO, payment card, service. So where do you find compliance-related documents? That's what you'll be doing here.
Trusted advisor.
Okay. I see a majority of set C. So since you are alone, Beijing, no worries. But that's where we learn. Okay, so it's AWS Artifact. What is trusted advisor again? Who can say that in words? I know that you know it, but if you explain it, you remember much better. What does this 10 mean, trusted advisor? Don't be shy. And I did ask everyone to look at that. So it's an online tool that will always scan your infrastructure against best AWS practices. So always remember, it's an online tool that will scan your infrastructure against AWS best practices and then give you advice or combinations for performance, cost optimization, security, service limit, and fault tolerance. So those are like the 5 key things you should remember. So when you think of trusted advisor, this is what you should remember. It's an online tool, right, that will scan your infrastructure against best AWS practices and then advise you in 5 key areas, right? CloudTrail, what is it about CloudTrail to remember? Someone should explain. I hope you people are learning your services.
CloudTrail is it gives the activities and who does what in your account.
It gives the activities about who does what, as well as who. There are 3 of them: who, what, and what. And where, who did what, and where did the person do it. So it's like it has an audit trail, right, of your account. Certificate manager is for managing SSL, all of those certificates. So Artifact, as we said, is what will be for compliance related information. Trusted advisor, online tool that provides real-time guidance to help you provision your resources following AWS best practices. So inspect your environment and make recommendations of saving money, improving system performance, reliability, or closing security gaps. They say, as I said, each time you want to remember a service, practice going to learn to make AWS, searching with AWS your favorite tool. So, and then when you learn, when you say 5 best areas: cost optimization, performance, security, Service quotas here is also service limits, fault tolerance. Make sure that you read what all of this is. At times they will write something and try to see if you know where it matches. So yeah, so I share this and it's always the best way to come and pick up, to also pick up what you need to remember. So CloudTrail enables governance, compliance, and operational auditing and risk auditing of your AWS account. So the general advice remains that look into the services, pick keywords from there that help you remember, that you can explain to someone. So when you learn about a service, just always stop for a while and see if you can find words to explain it to someone, because that will help you know them better, right? All right, next question is for, I think that's for you. What other, yeah. Which two services are used for VPC security and can be found in the VPC dashboard in the AWS console? Select two. So which services are used for VPC security? So they should be used in VPC security and also found in the dashboard.
C and E. Okay. So security.
Okay. I see there's support as well. So people support that. Okay. Thanks to all. CloudFront, C and E. Okay, let's check first and then we go. Where will you use C? So the question is where? Yeah, it's used in VPC security, but where will you use C?
Subnet level.
Okay, on the subnet level. And security groups, where will you use that?
Instance.
Okay. I hope everyone agrees with that. Or there's someone who doesn't know. All right. So network ACLs is on the subnet level, security groups on EC2. All right. So let's move to the next one. And if you're thinking about, I think, let me not just, who remembers what CloudFront is? When you hear CloudFront, what comes to mind? Because we have it as an option.
CloudFront works with Edge to improve latency.
Right. Okay, that's good. It works at the edge for latency. So making sure that, okay, that's correct. Who has any other thing to add?
The content delivery network.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was looking for that word as well. It's a CDN in AWS. Right, it's a content delivery network that helps in caching and yeah, latency, improves latency. Okay, so those are keywords. Okay, right. Let's move to question 8. Question 8 here is for you. I think. Which of the following allows you to set coverage targets and receive alerts when your utilization drops below the threshold you define?
AWS budgets.
Okay. AWS budgets, I see 2 people support that. Any other person? Okay, that's fine. We just review trusted advisor. What is Cost Explorer? What will cost? Let me check. Let's check the answer first. So that's correct. So these are the keywords in budgets. receive alerts when utilization drops below the threshold, right? So so just think of AWS budgets. It's just a service where, like for example, in your AWS account, maybe you want to spend just $10 per month because we are using it for practice. So you can actually go and set a budget for $10 and say once the usage reach 80%, you should receive an alert. That's exactly what I have in my account. So each time I have 10 euros already used, I get, when it reaches €8, I get an alert that, okay, I've used this amount. And then, so you can then set at what percentage you should be reminded. So that's what the whole concept of receive alerts when utilization drops below the threshold is all about. But what is AWS Cost Explorer? What comes to mind?
The service helps you to visualize your costs
Yeah.
and predict future costs based on past consumption.
Correct. So you visualize costs, see if what future costs can be, you can predict that based on your past consumption. So those are keywords there. It's correct. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next question is going to, we don't have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I don't know if you have been looking at our online notes, or how is it with you so far? Or are you feeling comfortable to participate?
Not yet to participate because I'm still reading through the notes.
Yeah, you have access to the YouTube channel, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, good. Then coming back to you, Tim Lawe. So the next 4 questions for you. Which of the following best describes what CloudWatch can be used for? So here is what can you use CloudWatch for? Repository for metrics and logs, an audit service that records all API calls made in your AWS account, a repository for compliance rules, an automated security assessment service. What will be the right description for CloudWatch?
A repository for metrics and logs.
Okay. Any different view or support? Let me check. Okay, see there is support. What service will be for automated security assessment service? Everyone should shout the answer. It was an assignment. I hear someone whispering something.
Inspector.
It's Inspector, right? Everyone should remember that. I was part of it. Okay, AWS Inspector. All right. The next question for Tim Lawe again. Which service provides event history of your AWS account activity, including actions taken through the AWS Management Console, AWS SDKs, command line tools, and other services? So remember, provides history of AWS account activity.
AWS CloudTrail.
Okay. Any different view or support? Okay. I see B is given, supported, CloudTrail. So what what do you need if you need to access AWS services using the SDK and command line tools? What will you need? For Management Console, to access the Management Console. Right, okay. That's what I was looking for. So AWS SDK and command line, you always need access keys, right? Everyone remembers that. I hope so, right? What about the others? That's B, Zenge. Yeah, I know it's B. I mean, what I was asking, yeah, I was asking that for AWS SDKs, command line tools, I hope everyone remembers that you need access keys, yeah? Guada, Tim Lawir, are you there?
Yeah, I know it's access key, but the question I have on it is how is the access key used? You just log in through the command line or you log in from the console before using the command line?
No, the console is a different access method. If you are using the command line, I don't know, I think I've showed this a couple of, this is the command line, for example. So to access, so you don't go through that. Okay, that's a question like when we're doing lab. So before you use that, you need to configure. You take those access keys and you configure on your command line, right? I think it's AWS config. Then that's when you. Okay, you see. So before I use my command line, I'll do AWS configure. It will ask for my access key ID. You see that?
Yeah.
So I'll put that in. Let me just say I put this. Then you ask for the secret access key because when you have the access keys, it's always made up of the access key ID and the access key, right? So I also type that in. So when I type that and all of that is correct, if I hit enter, I don't want to do that so that it will override my current access keys that I have. So if I type both of these and they are correct, then I'll be able now to use when I type this, it will still ask me another option. It could be like, which region do I want to be my default region? So now those are like different things because in the console, you can always go and choose your region, right? But here, it will ask you which region will be your default region so that if you execute a command and you don't give a default region, it will use but that region. So you have the access keys. You always need to configure it in your command line. So, and then that will be like think of it as your username and password. Yeah, that's a question for when you do practice, you remember well. Yeah, so it's access keys and you need to configure that. Okay.
I understand. I will understand better when I know how to use command lines.
Yes. When you join the lab groups, these are some of the things we'll do early on. But yeah, that was a good video. All right. Let's move to the next one. But remember, AWS config here is a service that enables you to access, audit, and evaluate the configurations of your AWS resources. So when you think of all the resources you configure in AWS as well as how they are configured, if you come back and you want to figure out, let's say after 2-3 months what you configured, it can be a bit demanding. So config is that service that will assess and audit all the resources that you've configured and just give you a report. And it also tells you the relationship or the dependencies between the different resources, which service is related to which and the dependencies that exist. So it's a very important service. So it's AWS config. So I will say try to remember that as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Still to now, I think you need to host a new Microsoft SQL Server database in AWS on an urgent project. Which AWS service should you use to meet this requirement? Select two.
EC2 and Amazon Aurora.
EC2 and Amazon Aurora. It's Microsoft SQL Server database. Aurora is compatible with which data engines?
NancyCore.
Sorry?
MySQL and PostgreSQL.
So let's check before I continue. So the keyword here was you are hosting a Microsoft SQL Server database. You see, you can always install a database on an EC2 instance. That's possible. It's just that you'll be managing it. But Amazon Relational Database have 5 different engines behind it. I've explained what the database engine is. Who remembers the 5 database engines that are supported by RDS?
We have Oracle.
MariaDB, Oracle, MariaDB,
Oracle, MariaDB. What about the others?
MySQL, MS SQL.
MySQL, yeah, MS SQL, and what else? And PostgreSQL as well, right? So those are the 5 engines supported by Amazon Relational Database. MySQL, Microsoft SQL, MariaDB, Oracle, and no, what was the last one I've not mentioned? So MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, and MariaDB. So those are the 5. And Amazon Aurora is also a relational database, which is just that it's proprietary from Amazon, but it's only compatible with PostgreSQL and MySQL. Not MySQL is different from Microsoft SQL, right? MySQL is a proprietary, it's an open source database. Microsoft SQL comes from Microsoft, the company Microsoft. Yeah, so, and then, yeah, so Aurora doesn't support Microsoft SQL. It's compatible with MySQL and PostgreSQL. Okay, so that's fine. Let's move ahead. I think the last person in team now is that. Which of the following services is capable of inspecting your AWS environment and making recommendations to lower expenditures, improve system performance and reliability, and close security gaps? So a service that is capable of inspecting your environment. After inspecting, it will make recommendations to lower expenditure, improve performance, reliability, and close security gaps. Which service will do that?
AWS Trusted Advice.
Okay. AWS Trusted Advisor. I see 2 people support. Why not Inspector? The person who answered. What is Inspector?
Inspector does not do recommendation, but it monitor and scan your application or your services.
Yes, what is the key phrase about Inspector? The person who answered, I want the person who answered as well to try so that you differentiate between the 2. Was that Fadi? That is AWS Inspector.
Oh, sorry, the baby was crying. So inspector for me, inspector scan. What you have been doing account.
Sorry, inspector does what?
Scan.
Scans. Okay. I'm looking for a key phrase. Who else can give what should come to mind?
Vulnerability management.
Yes, but before that, we just did touch that not long ago.
It assesses or accounts for vulnerabilities and intended network access.
Yeah. So it's a security assessment service, right? If you remember, we were just talking about that and we're saying automated security assessment service. That helps improve security and compliance of applications. So I was looking for the phrase automated security assessment service. Yeah, you people say scan, that's right. But assess applications for exposure, vulnerabilities, and deviations from best practices. So yeah, you were all correct about scan. I was just trying to get the phrase that will always be associated to inspector. And also many people may forget vulnerabilities, so it's good to remember. And the other one is also unintended network access. That's another thing that inspector does, but some people may be. So it's important to capture those three different areas. Automated vulnerability management service that continually scans workloads or software vulnerabilities and unintended network exposure. So unintended network exposure is another keyword there for inspector. So automated security assessment tool, vulnerability management, unintended network exposure. So those are three key things you should remember. Many people forget this last part, the network exposure, because in most definitions it doesn't show up, but you can be tricked into that. All right, I think I finished everyone in Timlawi, did I?
Yes, we did.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is for you, Maureen. Among the following services, which is the most suitable one to use to store the results of IO-intensive SQL database queries to improve application performance? Suitable one to use to store IO-intensive SQL database queries to improve application performance. Amazon Elastic Cache, Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator, AWS IoT Greengrass, Amazon CloudFront. Okay, Maureen says, Maureen, have you answered?
No. C.
Okay, C.
Yes.
Okay. C, you say, I see, I think three people say A. So the question is, most suitable one to use to store the results of IO-intensive SQL database queries to improve application performance. Here, this is testing knowledge of the different services. So let's take the majority. And it says A. And indeed it's A. So, so let's look for the definition of A first. Amazon Elastic Cache. It offers fully managed Redis and Memcache, seamlessly deploy, run, and scale upon open source compatible in-memory data stores. So Elastic Cache is an in-memory data store. With this service, you can build data-intensive apps or improve performance of your existing apps by retrieving data from high throughput and low latency in-memory stores. The in-memory caching provided by Elastic Cache can be used significantly to improve latency. So The question was results of intensive SQL database queries to improve application performance. More suitable one used to store. So elastic cache is a caching mechanism that is used in memory, that's used in databases, right? And especially for SQL databases. So where will you use Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator? Anyone knows what that is?
Delivers, that is when you need to deliver like up to 10 minutes performance improvement.
In what cases will you use that also in so where will which service will you use that with? Yeah, if you need to deliver improvement, yeah, it helps in improvement, but for which service? Can you use it with Amazon RDS?
Yeah, you can use it as cache for Amazon DynamoDB.
Can you, okay, so can you use it for Amazon RDS?
Yeah.
For Amazon RDS, you won't use it for you. So yeah, so I was trying to bring that out to bring the differences. Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator DAX is a caching mechanism used for Amazon DynamoDB, right? But then Amazon Elastic Cache, remember this intensive SQL database. So the only databases that use structured query language are relational databases, right? SQL. DynamoDB, on the other hand, is not a relational database. Yeah, so Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator is used with Amazon DynamoDB. Elastic Cache is a caching mechanism for SQL databases. Yeah, so try to align those differences. Just this one, just try to remember this one, that Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator, DAX caching mechanism for Amazon DynamoDB. Yeah, cache information. Right, what else can I say here? Then, so CloudFront is a caching feature. It's only applicable to DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database. Remember that as per scenario, you are required to store the results of IO-intensive SQL database queries. So this statement is very important. I still emphasize, please, for everyone, don't always miss out on reading the question and looking at what is important, because many people can easily get a question wrong just because, remember, this is being used to store IO-SQL databases. So I continue to emphasize on that because when you forget to take your time and look into the key parts of a question, you think that you have answered questions correctly, and yeah, you can have it all wrong. And that could be a deciding question, right? Whether you pass or fail. So just an encouragement for everyone to remember, always doing that. IoT Green Grass is a software that lets you run local compute messaging, data caching, sync and ML inference capabilities on connected devices in a secure way. Okay, let me put that on chat. It's not a service that we have seen often, so that if you want to look into it, make some notes. And then, yeah, the CloudFront, remember, global CDN accelerates the delivery of your website and all of that. Okay. Let's move to the next one, which is for you, Bijangir. A company is planning to adopt a hybrid cloud architecture with AWS. Which of the following options can they use to help them estimate their costs? So the company is planning to adopt a hybrid. Which one will be the right answer? Okay.
AWS pricing calculator.
Okay. Okay, I see the support with C as well. So remember, the company is planning to adopt a hybrid cloud architecture, and they just want to estimate their cost. All right, so let's see. We review already what Explorer is. So if you notice, most of the questions from the 65 pack are coming from some of the questions we have seen already. So if everyone takes time and review all the section-based questions, you realize that you'll be able to answer some of these 6 questions that are in the pack of 65. There are a few that will come up that are not, that maybe we have not seen. And once you are comfortable in answering, let's say 57 to 60 of these questions without making an error, you are then fit for the exam. So if everyone has been taking the section base we did very serious, then you are slowly approaching to the point where you can take the exam. And I will say for those who really want to take the exam this year, just make sure that you register for it when you think you can take it, maybe in the next 2 weeks. That's before the end of the year. Just make sure that you just register, because that will make you sit up as well. When you are just thinking that you take it, you may have other things that will interrupt you from doing so. But if you register and put a date, it becomes more in your conscience, right? Because if you've been revising the services, as we've been saying from the beginning, and doing the revision of the different questions you have had, you should be slowly approaching, you should be slowly getting comfortable. Okay, next question is for you, Ngo Adam. Which of the following can you use to resolve the connection between your on-premises VPN and your AWS Virtual Private Cloud? Select 2. So what can you use to resolve the connection between your on-premises VPN and your AWS VPC, the Virtual Cloud? Select 2.
A and B.
Sorry?
No. A and
A?
B. Which
Okay,
of the
A and
following
B.
can you use to resolve connection between your on-premises VPN? A and B.
Any other option? Any thoughts? I see a B. Did I see B and C? Virtual private gateway and NAT gateway. Is that the majority is saying B and C? So you want to resolve the connection between your on-premises VPN and the cloud. Okay, majority says B and C. So let's see. So why was everyone picking C? Oh, it was because it's NAT gateway. Now the question is, what is a NAT gateway? Remember, it was resolve the connection between your on-premises VPN and virtual gateway. I'm curious why many people did choose C. So it's actually A and B. And if you think of resolve, the virtual private gateway, how can I say that? The virtual private gateway is at the end of the cloud, right? And when you're also doing VPN, what do you always have on the customer side?
Customer gateway.
Customer gateway, yeah. But yeah, but when you want to resolve connection, what will a NAT gateway do? What is the use of a NAT gateway?
It's connecting your instances from the private subnet to the internet.
Yes. So it's really a service it sits in the public subnet and helps connect the instances on the private subnet to the internet. So it won't resolve the connection you have here. So the question was resolve the connection between on-premises and AWS virtual cloud, right? So if you look here, so NAT gateway is incorrect because that's just what it does. Private connect to the internet, but prevents the internet from initiating a connection. So normally what happens is the NAT gateway will sit in the public subnet and it helps connections from the private subnet to the internet, but the internet traffic cannot leave the internet and go to the, when I say traffic cannot leave, that's the traffic cannot be initiated from the internet to the private subnet. That when the private subnet, when instances in the private subnet send out traffic, because traffic is always made up of a request and a response. So if it sends out traffic and it has to go out to the internet, a response will come back. But when we say initiate, it means that from the internet, you cannot have a request going to the EC2 instance in the private subnet and get a response back. That's not possible. Yeah. So when you always think of traffic, think of it as two ways. There's always a request and there's a response. And when the private instance make a request, traffic is then flowing out. And of course, once a request is made, the response will come back. But the other one is from the internet, you cannot have a request coming in to the EC2 instances. That's why they are putting the private subnet for protection. Yeah. Now, ingress on the internet gateway works like a NAT gateway, but is used for IPC traffic only. Please remember this. NAT gateway, you are using it for IPv4. Ingress on the internet gateway is used only for IPv6 traffic. That's the only difference. So I think I should copy that and put, because I don't think we have seen that. And it's important to remember what it is. Works like a NAT gateway, which is used only for IPv6 traffic. Any question on these ones we've covered? That is, yeah. So when you think of resolving, there was for Amazon Route 53. Okay, sorry. This question is for Kenya. Yeah. What are the benefits of using edge locations in AWS? Select 2. Benefits of using edge locations in AWS. Improves application performance by delivering content closer to your users. Offers an easy-to-use edge computing device that is helpful for data migration. Provides caching, which reduces the load on your origin servers. Seamlessly extends AWS to edge devices so they can act locally on the data they generate while still using the cloud for management, analytics, and durable storage. Provides high scalable object storage for your static content. So which of those are for edge locations?
It improves application performance by delivering contents closer to your users. And C, provides caching, which reduces the load on your origin servers.
Okay. I see A and C supported. Did someone say B? Okay, A and C. Okay. Okay, A and C. Majority says A and C. So just to highlight, when you see edge locations provides caching, which reduces that, CloudFront actually uses edge locations, right? Keep that in mind. CloudFront uses edge locations because, and then helps. That's why when you use CloudFront, it reduces latency as someone improves in latency as someone did mention earlier on. Yeah, so it's been stated here. Amazon CloudFront is that. Okay. So I think everyone got that. Well, if there's always a question, feel free to stop me. Which service should a company use to centrally manage account policies and consolidate billing across multiple AWS accounts? That's what Tim Lawir. Back to you. Which service should a company use to centrally manage account policies and consolidate billing across multiple AWS accounts?
AWS organizations.
Okay. We have almost touched all these services today. Let's check and see. Majority support that and a C. So if you already know these services, you see how your answers can be. I mean, I trust everyone who is here this morning already know what Explorer is, what Trusted Advisor is, what Budgets is. So, and then of course, organization. So when you see a question where you recognize all the services, your answers are always like 100% sure. So again, encouraging everyone to go back to these services. Next person in Team Lawi, Tutorials Dojo would like to test their new mobile app on multiple devices at once in a coordinated fashion using AWS. Which of the following services will help speed up the process?
AWS device.
Okay. You surely know that one from the top. Anyone has a different view? Okay, everyone supports. So that's nice. At least the revision, see, it just shows the revision is helping, right? So Device Farm is an application testing service that lets you improve the quality of your web and mobile apps by testing them across an extensive range of desktop browsers and real mobile devices without having to provision and manage any testing infrastructure. I'm trying to see, okay, like you can see here, you can go to a browser, because what always happens before most applications are released, they have to try and see if they will work with different mobile phones, right? So imagine if you have to run that on different phones, how demanding that will be. But then if you use the device farm, you can then always pick a device or create a device pool that already mimics what that device is. And then you can run that application and see if you will have issues. You know, so as you see here, Samsung Galaxy, LG Pad, you know, the different form of Samsung. So rather than having physical devices, you instead use but a browser that can already have a kind of setting in the background. The service has a setting on the background that will kind of be compatible with Samsung Galaxy S5, for example, or S6. And then you just run the test to see if that application will work on any of those settings you have. And if it works, then you know that if someone installed it in Samsung Galaxy, will not have a problem. So a device farm, that's just basically what it is, you know. Ground station is just a series of controlling satellite communications and processing data using satellites. Remember that? Controlling satellite communications and processing data. QuickSight is for business intelligence and creating visualization dashboards. And then a security bulletin is a security announcement provider service, just like the word security bulletin, security announcement provider service. Yeah. Any question? Okay, thank you for the question. The next person in similar way. A company has enlisted the help of T-Dojo Consulting Co. to assist them in designing an AWS disaster recovery solution for their on-premises bare metal servers and SQL databases. So AWS disaster recovery solution for their on-premises. So it's on-premises, bare metals and SQL database. The implementation has to be robust, fast, and simple to use. It should also prevent any type of data loss from occurring. The company would like to keep track of the status of the migration. Which tool should the team adopt for the DR solution? DR is disaster recovery. So implementation should be robust, fast, and simple, and also prevent any data loss from occurring. And you also like to keep track of the migration. So which service here will you use for that? Cloud Endure, AWS Migration Hub, Database Migration Service, AWS Server Migration Service.
I'm not very sure, but I will go for AWS database migration service.
Okay. Okay, so you are not really sure. I see two people already say A. Two people say A. So I have Cloud Endure and Database Migration Service. Okay. Any other person? What about Bijunge and XCB? So I have two A's, one B, and one C. Okay, everyone who your answers, let me take the majority, two A's, one B, one C, and let's see who wins. So it's A. So opportunity to learn what Cloud Endure disaster recovery is a tool that minimizes downtime and data loss by providing fast, reliable recovery of physical, virtual, and cloud-based servers in AWS Cloud. So let me just copy that and put on chat. But database is incorrect because this service cannot migrate bare metal servers. It is also not the best solution for this scenario since we are not performing a migration. Remember, we were doing a disaster recovery, just creating a disaster. The question was, we are designing a disaster recovery solution. We are not doing a migration, right? Migration Hub is this service is for monitoring the state of your migration. It's not for disaster recovery as well. This one is also for, it's not a best solution, but this is application migration as well, right? So the key point here was we were not doing a migration, we were doing disaster recovery. And disaster recovery is just different from migration, right? So yeah, so make sure you capture that and know the differences. You see, so one of those questions that on-premises bare metal servers and SQL databases. So even if you're also thinking of migration, you don't migrate bare metal services using the database migration service. Yeah. So this is one of those questions that also require to like just stop and look at the different things that are being asked as well. But that's why we do a revision to make sure everyone don't make that mistake in the exam. It's okay to make mistakes here. Exams, there is no excuse. All right. In the shared responsibility model, which of the following options below It's a shared control between AWS and the customer. We have 7 minutes to go. I think I'll allow, if anyone sees the answer, they can let us know. Sorry, who was that?
Awareness and training.
Awareness and training, okay. Shared control between AWS and the customer. Okay, thank you. I see the support for that. Let's see, that's correct. So this has to do with, remember this diagram and remember these different aspects. We did share that a couple of times. Shared controls. Configuration management and patch management all fall under shared controls, right? Patch management, AWS will manage the patches on your infrastructure, will patch the host operating system, and you as a customer, you'll be patching the guest operating system. Configuration management, the same. There are some configuring the devices at the data center. This is AWS that is doing it, but configuring your guest operating system and your database and applications is you as the customer. Okay, good. Which of the following cost management tools allows you to track your Amazon EC2 Reserve instance usage and view the discounted RI rate that was charged to your resources? Which one will do that? It's open question.
AWS cost and usage report.
Okay. Track and use the view discounted RI rate that was charged. Okay. I see majority support D. So let's check that as well. That's correct. Allows you to track Amazon EC2 Reserve instance usage and view discounted RI rate that was charged to your resources. So that's more of detailed information you are looking for. Okay. Next question, which Amazon EC2 instance purchasing options let you take advantage of unused EC2 capacity in AWS Cloud and provides up to 90% discount compared to on-demand prices? Everyone should shout that answer.
Spot instances.
Okay. Everyone support, right? So when you see unused EC2 capacity in AWS Cloud and you are looking for 90%, the other word that always comes in is which other instance pricing it comes depending on demand and supply. That's also which instance will you pick, option will you pick. So as you see something, yeah, demand and supply of, because unused EC2 instances always depend on how many people, how many customers are demanding for that. The more of unused, the cheaper the price. Okay, and you can remember spot instances can be taken away from you in 2 minutes, right? Also keep that in mind. And spot instances, what is the best use case of spot instances? Let's check the answer while discussing. So always make sure you know a use case of each one. When will you use spot instances?
Interrupted workload.
Correct.
Interrupted.
That's good. I like that phrase. So that's the key phrase, interoperable workloads. Yeah. So that's correct. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Which of the following is true on how AWS lessens the time to provision your IT resources? Which of the following is true on how AWS lessens the time to provision your IT resources? It provides an AI-powered IT ticketing platform for fulfilling resource requests. It provides various ways to programmatically provision IT resources. It provides an automated system of requesting and fulfilling IT resources from third-party vendors. It provides express service to deliver your servers to your data centers fast. So which of the following lessens the time to provision your IT resources? What will be the correct one? I see.
B.
I see. Okay. B is supported. Any other person? B as well. I hope people are not worried. Bijonge, are you still with us? Just checking. Okay, that's fine. So it's actually B. Yeah, so how AWS listens the time to provision your IT resources. All right, next question. Which AWS service allows your EC2 compute capacity to automatically scale based on the incoming traffic? Who can see that?
AWS auto scaling.
Okay. I see support for that. Okay. Let's check and see. Right, so compute capacity to automatically scale based on incoming traffic. Make sure you know what Lightsail is, and remember the friend to Lightsail, Elastic Beanstalk. If you don't know, after this, just go back and refer to those two services and try to see if you can explain that to someone. Yeah, Amazon Missy as well. We have mentioned that a couple of times. Make sure you know what it is. And then let's answer the last question and go, so that we have 25 questions covered. You need to launch a new EC2 instance for a beta program, which is scheduled to change its instance family, operating system, and tenancy exactly 3 months after its trial period. Which type of reserve instance should you use?
A. Covered.
Okay. I see A supported. So remember, the key thing is you want to change the instance family, operating system, and tenancy. I hope everyone knows what tenancy is. Right? We have shared tenancy and we have dedicated. 3 months after its 3 period. So I see A supported. There's a diagram that we have talked about here. There are type of reserve instances. There's a standard, there's a convertible. But you notice that in the convertible, it is the one where you can change the instance family. So if it was using T3 micro, you can change to a different instance family, which means that instance family just determine how many CPUs or how much memory that instance will have. So the memory can be, for example, 8 GB of memory with maybe 3 CPUs, but then you want a bigger instance family that could use about 16 GB of RAM, which is the memory here, and maybe 8 CPUs. It just depends on what you want. So you can change that value. When you use standard reserve, you cannot change it. Once you pick the instance family, you will always stay with it. You can also change the operating system. So if it was Linux and you want to use Windows later on, you can do that. Tenancy, you can also change it. If you want to move from shared to dedicated, it's possible, but you want to do that in the standard. So make sure you know what is convertible and what makes it different from standard. Yeah. Okay. Let's stop here. The good thing is when we'll come back tomorrow, I think this will save. We can pause here before I forget. So once it's paused, when we come back, we'll start back from question 26. So it's not like the other one. Okay, any questions or comments? Let me stop the recording.